Welcome to the show, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. Great to have you along for the ride. Wow. Okay. Hassan Reddick gets traded. Phillies look god-awful for 2 games. Then they win in heroic fashion, I might add. 76ers hit 24 threes in a game, a franchise record. What a weekend. Oh, it was also Easter. Hope you had a great Easter. For those that celebrate Easter, hope you had a great Easter. What else do we have? Oh, it's April Fool's. So public service announcement today, okay? It's April 1st. So if anything sounds a little fishy today, anyone goes to the old, hey, gullible's written on the ceiling. You fool. Be careful with that today. So public service announcement. Also, an apology. Folks, if you caught the abbreviated show on Friday, all right, opening day, what turned out to be opening day. I just want to tell you this, all right, because I wasn't blowing off the show. I wasn't trying to, to shortchange you with only a half hour. So let me just get this. For the people that didn't hear the apology, let me just get the apology. Okay, here you go. I had a Fox 29 hit to do Friday morning. Thursday night was the second to last Wings regular season home game. So I did the Wings game Thursday night. Came home knowing I had the Fox 29 hit in the morning. Literally did an hour show. Had the Jody McDonald interview already in the can, ready to go. Went to play it for the morning, wasn't playing. Went to edit it to see if that would help. Wasn't editing, just wasn't being cooperative. And it was probably 4 extra hours of work that I did to make sure that I get the 1 hour in. So I just went live because nothing was working, and the only thing I could do was play the interview. So that's why I gave you the 5 or 10 minute intro. Open and then played the Jody Mack interview. My apologies for only giving you, I think it was 33 minutes in total. In all seriousness, sorry about that. But I had it. The podcast is an hour. For whatever reason, the audio was great Friday, but everything else, not so great. So sincere apologies to that. I think the Eagles owe a sincere apology. This is a great segue to Hassan Reddick. I want to take this in order, okay? I don't see how this is a good move. I don't see how you can classify this as a good move right now. All right, so you save yourself some money, if that, $1 million? Yeah, okay. You're not restructuring the deal, so you're not paying him that money that he wants. So I guess you're saving money there by not giving him more or restructuring the deal. Okay, but last I checked, you had a boatload of cash. It's like, what's it to you? Ask a billionaire for $1. What's it to you? You know what I'm saying? Well, for the Eagles, apparently it's worth something. So I'm going to just a couple of things here. One is that I don't like it because I think Hassan Reddick is one hell of a football player, and I'd like to have him on my football team. And it's been my stance well before Bryce Huff was ever a Philadelphia Eagle, well before anyone anticipated Bryce Huff to be a Philadelphia Eagle. I don't like this move at all. When the Eagles were bringing in Vic Fangio, one of the first things I said was, if you're not going to have an aggressive defense, you better have guys that can win one-on-one battles at the line of scrimmage. Enter Hassan Reddick into the conversation of a guy that can absolutely win a one-on-one battle at the line of scrimmage. Now he's not here anymore. Oh, well, the Eagles went out and they got Bryce Huff. Okay, that's great. Hassan Reddick has had 4 consecutive years of double-digit sack seasons, including a season last year where he played 4 games with a hand in a cast and still was able to come on strong and get 11 sacks in the season. And now you're just letting that go because you got a guy who has had a double-digit sack season once in his career and a guy who only plays 40% of the snaps, but he's going to be ready to go. He's going to be fine and dandy. Everything's going to be great. $51.1 million for that guy over 3 years. Still, bottom line, not a proven commodity. 1 good year does not make you a proven commodity. Hassan Reddick is a proven commodity. So financially speaking, let's see, we've covered it. Doesn't really make sense. $1 million. He's on a contract, so he's going to have to play. I don't think Hassan Reddick is going to be holding out. I think he's going to go for 1 more great year and then maybe cash in somewhere else at the end of the season. You brought in a guy that is a little bit of a dice roll here. I understand the potential that's there, but potential doesn't make him a known quantity. All right. When you look at a guy like Hassan, or when you look at a guy like Bryce Huff. And thirdly, as I've been saying for this entire process, I feel like some of this is punitive. Hassan Reddick during the season absolutely throwing the front office under the bus, backing up the bus, and then running over them again. This is, in some way, shape, or form, has to be punitive. When the whole thing went down with Sean Desai, and Hassan Reddick goes out there and he starts talking about how the higher-ups wanted to make this decision. This is what they wanted to do. Snickering at the idea of being dropped back in coverage as many times as he was in Philadelphia. I don't think the front office liked that too much. So maybe that's why they weren't so willing to play ball with Reddick. Now, this might be a great thing with Reddick from a business standpoint. I don't think he's going to go to the Jets, and the Jets are all of a sudden going to be true green Super Bowl contenders up there in New York or in North Jersey. But financially speaking, maybe they'll be able to work out a deal for a long-term contract for Hassan Reddick the way that he wants. And the Eagles, maybe it's not punitive at all. Maybe that's just trying to do right by the player. I doubt it. But I'm trying to entertain every possibility. But here's the one thing that I do know. The Eagles on Thursday were a better football team than they are right now. With Hassan Reddick on this roster, they're a much better football team. And I have a lot more confidence in the Eagles' pass rush winning one-on-one battles or winning battles in general and getting after the quarterback without the need to dial up blitzes. A lot more than I did right now. The question marks now have grown on this defensive line. So you're looking at edge rusher there with Hassan Reddick, not here anymore. Bryce Huff, roll the dice. Let's see if he really is a 10-sack guy for multiple years. You're looking at Jalen Carter and you're looking at Jordan Davis. We all fell in love with Jalen Carter in the early goings of the season, really 3/4 of the way through the season. And then, hell, everything went to hell in a handbasket after that. Look at Jalen Carter's production, lack thereof at the end of the season. Jordan Davis disappearing. Milt Williams now becomes the wily veteran on this defensive line when it comes to the interior spot of defensive tackle. Josh Sweat has to have a bounce back type year after what happened. After what went down at the end of last season. Going to last 7 games without a sack? Not great. Not great. Brandon Graham, we all realize what Brandon Graham is. We know what's happening with Brandon Graham. We love him. Respect the hell out of him. 5.5 sacks? 4? 4.5, maybe 4.5 for Brandon Graham. I don't. This is one of the first moves of the offseason, and I was trying to think about it's the first time I look at the Eagles offseason and go, nope, don't like that. Don't like it at all. And I maintained hope and flat out thought that Hassan Reddick was going to be back. Thought the Eagles would let this play out a little bit, maybe come to the senses, play on the 1-year deal, and that's that. Not the way that worked out, unfortunately. And the Eagles aren't a good football team, or are a worse football team right now than they were before it happened. The only way this, and the other thing that bothers me is you're talking about $30 million worth of cap. Okay? $30 million in cap space. Couldn't rework a deal to make both sides happy, at least in this offseason. The only thing that would make me go, all right, well, you know what? They save every dollar they can is if they go out and they have another really good pickup. Justin Simmons is still out there. If this is somehow a following the bouncing ball, they had to make this move to make that move. I still think they could have kept Hassan Reddick and they still could have brought in Justin Simmons. But if the restructured number that Hassan Reddick was thinking about and what the Eagles were willing to pay was far off, then this is strictly and obviously a business decision. And if they're able to go out and they're able to sign a free agent like Justin Simmons and improve their secondary immensely, and also bring in a guy that is not only extremely talented, but also a guy that has a lot of experience in the Vic Fangio scheme and understands the freedom that can come along with that position when you are comfortable in that system, then it's the perfect fit here in Philadelphia. And I saw yesterday on Pro Football Focus, they were talking about great landing spots for current free agents, and Justin Simmons, you know where they had him? Right here in Philadelphia. So if this is somehow a move to save some cash when you consider what could have been restructured for Hassan Reddick, and you're able to go out and get Justin Simmons with it, all right, then good hustle, Howie Roseman. I still like it from a personal standpoint. I like my Temple guy here in Philadelphia. But bottom line is, if they go out there and get Justin Simmons, then okay, you can sell me on being a better football team defensively. You can sell me on it. You can sell me rather easily, as a matter of fact. As far as the draft goes, I don't see how this impacts the Eagles from a draft perspective. I think when you look at your first and second round picks, this doesn't mean they're going edge rusher or anything like that. I still think in their first 2 picks, it's going to be an offensive lineman. It's going to be a cornerback. I think their goal is to get an offensive lineman in the first round. I think they'd like to get a corner in the second. Depends on how the board falls, as we all know. I think their priority and their intent to be aggressive would be following the position more so of offensive lineman than it would be for the cornerback position. Bottom line, don't like the Hassan Reddick move. Hope it means that there's something better to come. It could line up to that. But I think they're a much better football team with Hassan Reddick getting after the quarterback than just Bryce Huff. Here's what it means. Brandon Graham stays around 38 to 41% of the snaps. That's what it boils down to. Bryce Huff would have to jump up to 70% of the snaps, which is a pretty big leap from 41% of last year. And Josh Sweat has to not be the guy that ended the season on such a sackless run. That's what has to happen here. Go get him, boys. Go get him. Hopefully the offense just scores 50 points a game, and then you don't have to worry so much about the defense. Their strongest defense is going to be a strong offense for the Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, that's where we're at. Hey, the Philadelphia Phillies started their season. Opening day was Friday. If you didn't see it on the old Instagram, I put up a little video of me on the field, just taking video. There's something about seeing the scoreboard. And the scoreboard looked great. The new scoreboard looked great. The scoreboard, the out-of-town scoreboard there in right field, that looked great. Everything's great there. Just something about being there and the bunting that Jody Mack was talking about on Friday, looking around and seeing all that amazing. I was just so ready and primed for a beautiful, amazing opening day. Zach Wheeler goes out there, your opening day starter for your Philadelphia Phillies. 6 scoreless, looking like $1 million damn dollars out there, well worthy of that new contract. And he goes out and is absolutely fantastic. And then after that, terrible, just god awful, terrible. For the Philadelphia Phillies on opening day. Not what we were waiting for in the slightest. Looking at it in total. There's some other positive stuff I want to get to, but they did win yesterday. But they had to pick up the pieces after being outscored 21-7 in the first 2 games. Nola giving up 7 runs in his first start of the season. 12 hits, 4 1/3. 5 of those runs coming after you actually got to Max Fried in the first inning. You chased him after 2/3 of an inning. You got him out of there. Cakewalk after this, baby. No, not the case. Nola looked terrible. Opening day, the Phillies bullpen looked terrible. I was with everyone. I had asked the question many times, and I still have it up here. You look at this right here from the from MLB.com. Phillies #1 bullpen, #1 projected bullpen for the 2024 MLB season. I was with everyone else when we all said my ass. That didn't make not great. Jose Alvarado does look like the guy that should be the Phillies closer, so there's that. And opening day, I was talking to some people, they didn't like Strahm coming in and Alvarado, whatever. I had no issue with Rob Thompson opening day. What opening day might be the one day where I look at the manager, the way he uses the bullpen, and I go, oh, fine. Because you got to do your job. Like, you have no recent history to go off of. It's like, okay, well, Strahm's having a good year. The year hasn't even started yet for him. Like, I don't have a problem with that. Come in and do your job. That's what you should do. Come in and do your job. I don't look at Rob Thompson and go, wow, he really sucks. Don't look at it that. I don't look at it like that at all. Do your job. Come into the game, do your job. Nobody did their job. Again, 21-7 in the first 2 games of the season. So, game 2. Bryce Harper does what Bryce Harper does and plays all out. Does a little flip over the camera well if you haven't seen it. It reminded me, well, I already tweeted it up, but it reminded me of very specific. Remember in Wayne's World? Stacy. Hi, Wayne. Hi. Boom. And then she crashes in the car, flips over. It looked exactly like that. And she's okay. And Bryce Harper supposedly is okay. Now, He was out of the lineup yesterday. So it was Bryson Stott. Bryson Stott later pinch hit. Rob Thompson said, and he was asked about it, well, why is Bryce Harper out of the lineup on the third game of the season? Does it have anything to do with the idea of him flipping over the railing of the camera well in game 2 of the season? Rob Thompson, nope, scheduled day off. Here's what I'm willing to believe. I am willing to believe that Bryce Harper with a back issue was going to give, all right, you go for 2 days, see how you feel, you'll get the third day off. I'm willing to believe that for my own sanity for the rest of the season, or at least soon. Second, I actually feel good about the idea a guy with a back injury flipped over the camera well and stayed in the ball game to play. I actually feel better about that. The fact that he was given the day off yesterday, I'm willing to say third game of the season, Rob Thompson, I'm not going to start a BS parade. I'm not going to start an idea that you're lying to me already. I'm not going to start conspiracy theories on the third game of the season. I am going to file it away in the back of my mind if I don't see Bryce Harper in the lineup tonight. Now, 6:40 start time against the Reds. Supposed to rain like all week. This week is going to suck, and I hope there's no rain delays. I hope there's no games canceled, postponed, double headers, all that type jazz. No, thank you. I don't want it. Just want to play some baseball here, right? But when it comes to Bryce Harper, I'm gonna just go ahead and believe that what Rob Thompson is saying is 100% true, and he's not messing with us at all. So let's talk about yesterday's game. Bryce Harper's not in the lineup once again, okay? Just to say that again. It wasn't a great start. Ranger Suarez got gotten to in the first inning, unfortunately. Ozzie Albies goes up there, hits a 2-run home run after a leadoff walk to Acuna. Not great. Bottom of the first inning, Kyle Schwarber had been doing Kyle Schwarber things in the first 2 games of the season, consistently swinging at the first pitch. This time he connected 382 feet into right field, just over the wall in right field for his first home run of the season. First of 50, as far as I'm concerned. It's a 2-1 ball game. Suarez starts to settle in a little bit after that. They go into the 4th inning. Suarez gives up an RBI single to Duvall. Then Duvall tries to stretch that into a double. He's thrown out at second. It's a 3-1 ball game. Go into the 5th inning, and this is where it starts to get a little funky. 5th inning, Kyle Schwarber grounds into that double play. They get a run out of that. It's a 3-2 ball game. Trey Turner strikes out with men on base. Still 3-2 at the bottom, or excuse me, after the bottom of the 5th inning. Go into that 8th inning. Or excuse me, go into that 7th inning. Bryson Stott leads off, hitting for Edmundo Sosa. He's able to work a walk. They go to Bummer in the bullpen. He comes out. He faces Brandon Marsh. He strikes out Brandon Marsh. Johan Rojas, with Bryson Stott on first base, grounds into what appears to be, after Marsh strikes out, grounds into what appears to be an inning-ending double play, with the Phillies still down 3-2. Rojas beats the throw at first base. So they go to the review. They challenge it. Rojas beats it by a spike, by a cleat. He beats it. Barely, but he beats it. So Stott's out at second. Rojas is safe at first. You got 2 outs in the ballgame with a runner on first inning. Runner on first. Kyle Schwarber steps up there, gets a little humpback single to center field. Trey Turner steps up there. He bangs a single into right field. You get an RBI out of that. We got a tie ball game with Johan Rojas booking it. Trey Turner's able to steal second. Bohm comes up with what would end up being the game-winning RBI single. Schwarber's able to score. Turner's able to score 5-3 at that point in the game. They surrender a run. Sir Anthony Dominguez comes in. He gives up an RBI single to Ozzie Albies, and it's a 5-4 ball game, and that's the way it would end before Jose Alvarado came in to close it out. 1-2-3 in the top of the 9th inning for the Phillies to get the win. I love replay in baseball. I actually love the designated hitter in the National League. I love the pitch clock. I love everything about modern baseball at this point. Everything's fine and dandy when the Phillies win. Johan Rojas, not a great opening weekend for his season. But he gets on base, beats it out, does what he does, uses his speed, plays good defense, does what he's supposed to do in those scenarios. And in this case, it led to the Phillies getting the victory. Couple of things that aren't so great. One, Nick Castellanos trying to stretch that single into a double. I remember multiple times last year, really watching Nick Castellanos and thinking he is slower than Pat Burrell. In a foot race, he would make Pat Burrell look like Usain Bolt. And the idea of Nick Castellanos, even with a slight hesitation, rounding first base yesterday, thinking he's going to stretch it into a double, even that, just stop. You stop it. You stop it. Gets thrown out at second base. Nick Castellanos also, right out of the gate, Spencer Strider, Max Fried, these guys, Max Fried didn't get to him. No, he did. These guys throwing low and away. And he's chasing it consistently. Last year, I felt like we started off with maybe a month or two of, oh, wow, Nick Castellanos is laying off those low and away pitches. He's not, flailing at that slider. He's not, really chasing that curve low and away. You're not seeing it. And then in the middle of the season, he went right back to it. So I guess this season we're going to start off with just watching him chase those pitches out of the zone entirely. No, we're going to do that? Okay, great. So already annoyed with Nick Castellanos. But all in all, I look at it like I last year and the year before, I feel like we should kind of be used to the script by now. I am not a believer in it's only one game. I'm not a believer. Oh, it's 162 games. It's only one game. It's only 2 games. Your bullpen was bad for 1 game. Your starting pitcher was awful for the second. Like I don't. These games all count the same. It's that sometimes people treat it like there's some kind of point system that doesn't exist. Like, oh well, losses in March and April, they're only they only take away 1 point, but losses in September are 10 points. Like what? Like no, they all count the same. You have a blow up start from Aaron Nola, one of your supposed aces, 1A. By the way, I'm going to be on Nola's ass this year because I'm usually the apologist for Aaron Nola. I try to put things in perspective. Like the contract is signed. 7 years in Philadelphia. Like I'm not. I am. This is not going to go easy. This is not going to go easy. You better put up. I better see the Cy Young caliber Aaron Nola we have seen in previous seasons. That's what I better see. So going into this year, right out of the gate, not great. Not great from Aaron Nola. But when it comes to the rest of the team, everybody else, I feel like we have seen this show many, many times where they have the struggles at the beginning of the year. They go through the first 2 months as a warm-up. It drives you crazy, drives you absolutely bonkers. And then they get their together by June. I'm going to wait for that. I'm going to file these wins away, these losses away, right? And they still count the same as they do in September. And even at the end of last year, like I remember going into September, and the Phillies were putting it together last season. And I remember thinking about that Mets series that they just got dominated before they started winning games, where they got swept out of Flushing. They went into D.C., and I even highlighted this last week. Phillies last week, 35-42 was their record when they got swept by the Mets and they went into D.C. They lost game 1, 35-42. They then went on a 23-7 stretch, and the season was turned around. Still going into September, a little bit of faltering, a little bit of problems, a lot of problems. And then they won 7 games in a row, and all was right with the world. It's almost like this. I hate to bank on this because it's such a dice roll. But, yeah, through the course of 162 games in a season, you want to see your team win 100 games. That'd be great. But on the other side of things, if the hottest team in baseball is a team that rolls on to the World Series, well, then wouldn't you rather be the hottest team in baseball at the end of the year and have that good mojo going? Sure. Or you could just be dominant wire to wire, which is what we would all like to see, as fast as humanly possible. A couple other news and notes from the weekend. One, Jason Kelce, Fletcher Cox throwing out the first pitch. Amazing. Bryce Harper getting the autograph. Amazing. Charlie Manuel throwing out the opening day first pitch. That was great. Jason Kelce being on the broadcast crew on the game 2 on Saturday. telling Tom McCarthy and John Kruk that Charlie Manuel texted him. So Jason Kelsey's telling the story about how he got a text from Charlie Manuel, and Charlie Manuel said to him, "Hey, I just threw a strike on opening day, and I'm 80 years old. No pressure." Jason Kelsey goes out there on the second day of the season, throws low and outside. Oh, come on, Jason Kelsey. Loved it that Charlie Manuel and Jason Kelsey are texting. Just love that idea. They got Charlie on the interview there with Taryn Nicole, and they got the interview there with her. And just great to see Charlie. I didn't hear the story before that while he was going through his rehab, his physical therapy, one of the physical therapists brought in a book started talking about Babe Ruth's stats. And Charlie, still trying to get his speech together, was not really talking about much, but started talking about Babe Ruth's stats. And that led to more conversation about baseball. And the next thing you know, Charlie Manuel has got his speech back. You can tell Charlie was, still putting some things together as he was talking. But when he did talk, he sounded fantastic. And that was great to see from people that I know that are very close to the situation. He's come a long way. And just seeing him at spring training, we all know, I think we all had that feeling that thank God that Charlie's back and everything's fine. And he's going to, he's still got a little ways to go there. But from where he was, he's come a long way. So that's it was great to see Charlie out there. The Phillies fans would boo Jesus at the resurrection line. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was such a great line because it's true. My man Eric Fink had a great tweet. He goes, "Yeah, I'd boo anybody that disappeared for 3 days." Great line. I love that. I thought it was hilarious. I know some people might be up in arms about it. Like, be in on the joke, people. It's a great line. We would. You know who else we would have booed? George Washington. We would have booed George Washington. We would have booed George Washington. At some point during the Revolutionary War, we would have booed George Washington. We probably would have said it was stupid to cross the Delaware. You maniac. What are you doing? Does this guy know what he's doing? The Army needs a new voice in the clubhouse, a new voice in the barracks. Get him out of here. Maybe after Philadelphia was lost in the Revolutionary War, maybe then booing George Washington. We would have booed George Washington. There's a lot of historical figures, a lot of people we would have booed. That turned out to be all right. Took no issue with it. I went, that's a great line. And then I also thought there's people are going to be pissed off at that for no reason. A Philadelphia fan is at the raising of Lazarus out of the tomb. This guy can't do it. Boo! Oh, okay. He raised Lazarus. All right, fine. All right, I guess he proved himself. But let me just tell you, is he the guy? Is Jesus the guy? Is he the guy? I don't know. Thought it was a great line. Well, Pontius Pilate washing his hands. Look at him washing his hands like an idiot. Anyway, this is where my mind went after the line was delivered. Anyway, I didn't have a problem. Maybe you had a problem. I don't know. What other historical figures would we boo? Let me know in the comments. Let me know who else would we boo. Just curious. So let's see. We'd boo Jesus. We'd boo, but probably George Washington. Yeah, probably George Washington. There's other historical figures I feel like we'd boo. No? Ben Franklin? Was Ben Franklin the original guy in France? I think he was the original guy in France. Were there people in Philadelphia going, Ben Franklin's supposed to be here? I haven't got my newspaper printed in years because he's over there in France. Ben Franklin in France. Maybe Thomas Jefferson was the second guy in France, and then Norman Bremen. I always confused. It was Norman Bremen, right? Was it Leonard Toes? Who was the guy in France? I always mess that up. Anyway, I think it was Bremen. Anyway, what other historical figures do you think we'd boo? Let me know in the chat. Let's get to the 76ers for last night's game. The Sixers were in Toronto last night taking on the Raptors. And I didn't realize it until right before tip-off. Tyrese Maxey wasn't playing. It was one of those things, it was Easter, running around with the family, that whole thing. And I turned on the game, and I went, oh, where's Max? Oh, Maxey's gone. Maxey's not in? Maxey, hip injury? No! Hopefully nothing serious. And Maxey wasn't in last night's game. So I thought, oh, this is going to be a little tough for the Sixers, who have lost 3 in a row. What are they going to do? Well, a franchise record of 24 threes were hit in last night's game. Before they even started keeping track of it, like really, oh wow, they're not in danger. They're encroaching on a franchise record of 23 straight threes, or 23 straight threes. That'd be awesome. 23 threes in a game. I'm watching. I'm just like, they're not missing. Like Cam Payne was on fire. Nico Batum was on fire. Kelly Oubre was on fire. Led the team with 32 points. Hield and Lowry were knocking them down. And I'm like, nobody is missing. How big is that rim north of the border? What is going on in Toronto for these 76ers? And sure enough, here are the totals. To get to 24 three-pointers made. Last night, you had Cam Payne was 6 of 10. Kelly Oubre was 6 of 11. Nico Batum was 5 of 6. Lowry and Hield were 3 of 5. And Tobias Harris got his as well. He was 1 for 3. That was the breakdown last night without Tyrese Maxey. Last night's game from the rest of the numbers. I don't know what's happening there, folks. Sorry. Losing the picture a little bit. Tobias Harris finished with 21 points. Cam Payne with 24. I mentioned Kelly Oubre led the team with 32. Then you had Nicholas Batum, and again, his 5 of 6 from beyond the arc. 7 of 6 in total from the field. He had 19. Buddy Hield 13. After the game, Nick Nurse was addressing the media. Nick Nurse was talking about how he wants to see Batum get these kinds of shots up every once in a while from 3. 5 of 6 last night. He said, I'd like to see him take 5 or 6 3-pointers every once in a while. Like, I want to see that kind of night from him. And you know what? If he's going to hit him like that, hell yeah, man, let it rain. He'd go through spurts like this with the Clippers. We'd love to see them do that for the Sixers. Buddy Hield might be the feel-good story as far as this goes. Looking at the way Buddy Hield has played as of late for the Sixers. Now, we went over these numbers last week, but when he first got here, he was incredible. He was great. He was impressing the hell out of me from beyond the arc. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games right out of the gate with at least 4 threes. Then he started to go by the wayside a little bit. And then 3 of his last 4 games. 3 of his last 5 games, at least 3 threes in those games. So you want to see him continue to do that as time goes on, because that's the guy that the Sixers traded for. That's the guy that a lot of people thought, and myself included, this continues going the way it should go, and Buddy Hield is going to look like a guy that could certainly step into that Tobias Harris role as someone who was supposed to be that third scorer. But as long as Kelly Oubre is here, it looks like that's going to be Kelly Oubre. Sixers are going to be taking on the Thunder, so that's going to be a tough game. Isaiah Joe knocking them down coming up tomorrow night, so they got a day off today. But last night, look, it's hard to go against a team that is knocking down threes the way they were knocking them down last night. And every single time the Raptors started to show that they were trying to get back into the ball game, somebody hit a big shot, whether it was Kyle Lowry taking it to his old team there with the Raptors, whether it was Kelly Oubre, whether it was Cam Payne coming up big. Every single time there started to be a little bit of a run. Even Tobias Harris 3 came at a great time. I think it was in the third quarter where the Raptors started to make a little bit of a run. Every time that happened last night, you saw the Sixers start to push them aside and start to take control of the game again. So all in all, it was great. And I didn't even realize what they shot. Yeah, 59%. Jeez. So 55.8% from 3. 59% from the field. Contrastly, the Raptors were 36.7% from 3. So, yeah, they shot the lights out. Great to see that for the Sixers. Now, tomorrow night, hope to get Maxey back in the lineup. Here's what the Sixers have remaining. Now, for the people like Adrian Wojnarowski was saying that the Sixers expect Joel Embiid to play a handful of games before the season ends. They got the Thunder tomorrow night at home. Then they go on the road for 3 games. As much as I would love to say that the Sixers are going to hold off Joel Embiid, and they released that video. You saw the video that came out on social media of Joel Embiid, spin moves, step backs, layups, jumpers, fadeaways, doing all the things that we've seen him do when he actually plays the game of basketball. It all looked great in a warm-up situation, a practice situation. He looks like he is ready to go. Just by looking at that video, he looks like a guy who's ready to go. As much as I'd love to say they're going to hold him out of the lineup until the Sixers return home from a 3-game road trip where they're in Miami, they're in Memphis, and they're in San Antonio, and say that he's going to play that game against the Pistons, and they have 3 games left in the season after that. All of them are at home. They're going to unleash the hounds and just let him go for those final 3 games. I wouldn't mind seeing a 15-minute have a go at it Joel Embiid on the road so that maybe he works his way up, maybe in Memphis, maybe in Miami, maybe in San Antonio. Not including this game against the Thunders that's coming up here. But in those final 6 games of the season, you got 7 games left. In those final 6 games, maybe one of those 3 on the road, you see him make his return in one of those games. And he gets a couple of minutes under his belt there. And then he comes back here in Philadelphia. In one of those last 3 games, you start to see the ramp up a little bit more. The Sixers seem pretty intent on playing him before the end of the season. That's great. And I don't think that necessarily means that they're rushing him back into play. Joel Embiid, for all the problems he's had, especially in the postseason with either staying healthy or playing him or just eating his way out of shape, whatever the alleged comments might be with Joel Embiid, one thing we know is that he has to come back and play games and play himself back into shape. And that's not just some knock on Joel Embiid that he's, some guy needs a new dietitian or anything like that. But what it means is when you look at him and how he plays in the postseason over the course of his career, he gets out of shape rather quickly. So you want to see that ramp-up period happen before the playoffs start. And with the way things are right now with the 76ers and the standings, which are not great with that play-in tournament, unfortunately, you need to see those games under his belt. 18.5 games out of first place. They're a game and a half behind the Heat, who are in the 7th playoff seed right now in the Eastern Conference, and they're 2 full games behind the Pacers for the 6th playoff seed. That's where the Sixers are right now. Not great. Not great. That's where we're at. As for another team, just to mention them, gosh, the Phillies had the first 2 games of the season not look great. The Sixers had lost 3 in a row. The Eagles had traded to Reddick, but they're not the Flyers, who have lost 4 games in a row. They're back at it against the Islanders tonight. And played themselves out of a playoff berth over the weekend. So, here's where we're at right now with your Philadelphia Flyers, people. Looking at the division, the Flyers fell to 4th place. They lose the tiebreak at this point right now with the Capitals. So that's not a great thing. And with the way the wild card looks right now, they are in that 2nd wild card with they're 2 points above the Red Wings. So that's at least something. That's at least something. On the edge of falling out. Let me tell you about the great people at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. Take advantage of all they have to offer at MyBookie.ag. Download the app, create an account, use promo code Farzy, and get up to $1,000 redeemable cash bonus at MyBookie. MyBookie.ag. How about the Game Time app, ladies and gentlemen? Download the Game Time app to your phone. Use promo code Farzy. Get $20 off your first purchase on the Game Time app. Let's get to the chat check. I want to see how you wonderful people are doing on this fine morning. IBH, what's going on? Nice to see you. Mally, good morning. Mally, good morning. Oh, Mally, I would no longer watch on. Well, then watch me on the Farzy Show channel. We're on both. Streaming. Daz, what's happening? Great Easter. Hope you had one too. Losing Reddick stinks. I agree. Mallory got that one already. Cage Core. Question. Was it money issue or was it a locker room issue? They seem to really want to move on. Move him. I think it was a locker room issue. The money isn't a fair argument right now. And I'll tell you why. It's because the fact that you don't know what the restructured money would have looked like. And if the Eagles were going to restructure it, you bet your booty that the Eagles were going to save a couple of bucks somewhere. So the money doesn't make sense to me. He's under contract. I think he was going to play. They asked him to seek a trade. Apparently, I still has yet to determine who really found the trade. But it didn't appear like it was moving swimmingly. Maybe, look, him and Howie Roseman and Joe Douglas, I'm sure, have an open line of communication. So I don't think there's any it's possible that this deal was agreed upon a while ago. So it doesn't make you a better football team. No. Did Hassan Reddick want to go to the Jets? I think he would have rather stayed in Philadelphia. He's still close to home, Hassan Reddick. North Jersey as opposed to Camden. So, all right. Still close to home. But I just can't help but go back to the comments Hassan Reddick made during the season. And I said then, and I'll say now, I am still very much shocked that those comments didn't make more headlines. And the reason they didn't is because A.J. Brown addressed the media that week, and he broke his silence for the first time in 2.5 weeks and actually addressed the media. And if he didn't do that, Hassan Reddick would have gotten all the headlines. Hassan Reddick, throw the front office under the bus. Oh, my goodness. So I do think that was filed away in the back of the Eagles' heads. Oh, you want to trade? Yeah, go find one. I would find it very hard to believe that with the connection between Joe Douglas and Howie Roseman, I'd find it very hard to believe that the one that facilitated the trade was Hassan Reddick. Go find a trade. Oh, I got a trade with the Jets. Oh, really? Like, I didn't know that already, if you're Howie Roseman. So, for me, I don't think saying that it was about money, I don't think it was about money. To answer your question, Cage. Mally, I'm with you, partner. There you go. Jowie lost this trade. It's okay to admit he can't win them all. Here's the thing. Yes, this is a lost trade. Losing Hassan Reddick, not great. Getting on a third-round draft pick, well, it could be a second. It's not going to be a second. Looking at the, what do you call it, the qualifiers for a second, for that to be promoted to a second-round pick, that's not happening. But as far as the rest of it goes, whenever there's a bad trade like this one, I'm always hoping that it's to lead. Excuse me. Vodka. Anyway, I'm always hoping that this is to lead to something else. If Justin Simmons all of a sudden becomes an Eagle, I'm happier, but I'm happiest if Justin Simmons is an Eagle and Hassan Reddick is still here, which is still possible considering the cap space. I've seen my man Bill Collaroo use the term all in when describing this. You're all in with Hassan Reddick. You're not without. I agree. Because with Hassan Reddick, you can still get Justin Simmons. That to me is all in. There's a big move coming, boys. Daz, I hope you're correct. IBH, what's going on? Mally, hello. Steve Day, what's going on? Watching the parade is not the same as being in the parade. Love it. It's a great point. Jets defense will be top 3. Reddick will ball out this season, says WC13. Cage, thank you. Draft versus Turner, and that will make up for Reddick. Don't think they're going there. Losing Hassan was bad. I concur. For a third rounder? Kilpie? Is it Kilpie? Kilpie? I don't know. Hey, welcome to the show. Daz, Howie is obviously up to something. I've had the weekend to cool off. He's definitely going to make a big move. I hope so. Like, one of the things that I really like is when the Eagles do have a trade piece in their back pocket going into the draft. And Hassan Reddick would have been that trade piece heading into the draft. But now he's already gone. So now what? What do the Eagles do now? I'd love for, like, you know, a free agency signing of Justin Simmons. Shadarius Sneed already getting traded. That's not cool. I would have liked to seen him in Philadelphia. What's Howie's next move? Well, you got to kill the draft, Howie. Good luck to you. Sean Gillespie, very petty on the Eagles on trading Reddick. I can't help but think that that's exactly what it is. If Reddick didn't say anything during the season, I don't think we're having this conversation right now. Reddick's pursuit was great. He ran down rushes, especially going the opposite way. He had range. Son Reddick's he's a great football player, man. You put up consistency like that, and even with the start he had to the season, with his hand in a cast, still came up with 11 sacks. Yeah, he's pretty damn good. Daz, plenty of time, plenty of money. Mally, 3 games in, people. We're already bitching. Yes, Mally, we're already bitching. Best bullpen in baseball, my arse. 2 words, Chris Sale. Yeah, Chris Sale yesterday. Well, it wasn't the RBI single from Kyle Schwarber. I think it was the previous at bat. But Schwarber had a pitch. It was I think he threw him a slider that just grooved in there. It was right. It was like right in a spot that Kyle Schwarber puts that ball 445 feet in the upper deck. Like that. That's where it was. And Schwarber took it. And I went, ooh. And the people I was watching the game with, oh, they all had the same reaction. Mally, 1 and 161. Here we come. I believe it'd be 1 and 160. Because they already. I'm sorry, if they go for the rest of the season. No, you're right. I'm an idiot. Yeah. I was thinking about the same thing. They only win 1 game a series, but you're talking about 1 game for the rest of the year. Yeah. Special teams players, special players. Finger red number 1, brother. What? What's happening? All right. Hutch, what's going on, Hutch? Howie better have something up his sleeve after this trade because it isn't making the team better. That's a bottom line, Hutch. Bottom line is all that matters. James, what's going on? James Alexander III. Good morning. I think the trade helped out the Jets. Yeah, definitely. You got that interior defensive line, and now you got a guy like Hassan Reddick on the edge. Meanwhile, the Phillies, the Eagles have Bryce Huff, who had a great year last year. Is he going to have 3 more of those great years? Chad, good morning to you as well. Can't never help out the Jets. Can't nothing ever help the Jets, says Mally. Yankees losing. Excuse me. Yankees looking good. Slow down, Mark. You're going to be on Nola's ass. Pause. Or no Diddy, my guy. That stuff with P. Diddy's crazy. Should have went after Chris Sale. Oh, Kelnick is pretty damn good, man. He was a thorn in the Phillies side this weekend. Very frustrating on all counts. 7 years of NOLA. I'm coming to join you, Elizabeth. Fred Sanford. Fantastic, Sean. You can reference Sanford and Son on the show anytime. You should have never. I was doing the Wings game Saturday. The final home game of the regular season was Saturday, and I'm standing there in the booth there for the PA booth, right? And I just out of the corner of my eye, I see this bright pink shirt. And walking down the stands, this dude, and he's wearing a Golden Girls t-shirt, a bright pink Golden Girls t-shirt, right? And if you haven't heard me say it before, Golden Girls is the single greatest written show in the history of television. Comedy. Single greatest written comedy in the history of television. Ladies memorized their lines. Ladies did a fantastic job delivering the lines. Greatest written show in the history of comedy. And I just gave him the old great shirt, and he was like, yeah, man. Sanford and Son, Golden Girls, those are the shows, man. Those are the shows. When I think back to my childhood, when I was living in my grandparents' house in, must have been 1989 in Baltimore. We lived there 1 year, and my vivid memory is coming home from school. My grandfather would make me read a book. And that book, 9 times out of 10, was I Wish I Had Duck Feet. That was the name of the book. And then I get to watch a TV show, and normally the TV show was Sanford and Son. Fantastic program. Hutch should have never gave Nola that deal. He's washed. Can't stand the guy. I am not happy right now. That's all I'm going to say. Mark, stop pushing buttons. I know, right? Little G Griffin, what's going on? I'm a big fan of the Eagles. 2024 season better. Eagles, new Eagle linebacker, draft Georgia and Alabama and Texas. Little G Griffin, no one's disagreeing with that. April, I love this. Is the time. This is the time for the rust argument. It's the time for, well, you can't say gelling because the only difference is Whit Merrifield. They're shaking the rust off, baby. That's how they are. By the way, April, good morning. April, good morning. Gail Martin, what's going on? Huff better be the real deal or we're in deep doo-doo. Maybe Howie just isn't as smart as some think. How he loses one trade. This is an L. Taking this trade is a huge L. Making this trade is a huge L for the Eagles. Now, you better go get Justin Simmons. Sanford and Son ringtone. Sanford and Son song. That used to be a ringtone. That's a great ringtone to have. That's a ringtone that if that goes off at a meeting, people are like, "Oh no way, awesome!" You know what I mean? Would be interesting to know how much Reddick was asking for. Yeah, it would be. I'm looking for that. That'll come out soon, I'm sure. Mally, funny to see people bitching 3 games in. I'm crying over here. It is funny, but you know that's us, man. We're passionate. We're passionate people. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Nobody had a historical figure that they'd boo? I'm a little surprised by that. Yeah, I'm scanning again. Nobody booing a historical figure? Okay. All right. That's fine. You do you. Yeah, that's fine. No big deal. Morning Rush brought to you by Sky Motorcars, SkyMotorcars.com. Did anybody have one of these at the ballpark? The football freezes? Did anybody have one of these? Football freezes. Fastball freezes. Anyone have these? No? Anyone had it? It was very interesting. This was part of the show. This was part of the show that did not air on Friday, unfortunately, because of damn technology. But did anyone have the fastball freeze? I need to know that that slushy alcoholic beverage they're selling in a baseball-shaped container at the ballpark. If anyone had one, I'd love to know about it. Phillies are going to be back at it today, weather permitting. 6:40 start time. Love the 6:40 start times. 6:40 today. Christopher Sanchez goes against Andrew Abbott. So lefty versus lefty today. I'd love to know what Love to know if the Phillies actually play this game today with the weather. It's supposed to be, I think, light rain, nothing crazy. Crazier rain later in the week. So I'll keep my fingers crossed. Special announcement. Stay tuned for this. I'll be announcing this throughout the season on my social media, on Twitter, X, Instagram, the whole thing. But last year, I started doing post-game shows with the Philadelphia Phillies, for the Philadelphia Phillies post-game shows. This year, as part of the Locked On Network, I'm going to be doing post-game shows for the Sixers and post-game shows with the Phillies. We're looking to get that started in the next day or two. Hopefully today with the Phillies, as a matter of fact, and hopefully tomorrow with the 76ers. So make sure you guys stay tuned for all that. I'll be announcing when we're going to get that started. Like I said, hopefully we can start it tonight. But stay tuned to my social media for more of me in post-game coverage situations. That's the show today, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. You guys are great as per usual. I'll be back with you guys tomorrow morning. Same bad time, same bad channel. See you guys then. Have a great rest of your day. My name is Mark Farzetta. This is the Farzy Show, presented by MyBookie, mybookie.ag. See you guys tomorrow morning.